Welcome to the Yankee Cowboy Podcast, coming to you from Dallas, Texas. Here's your host, Tim Wilkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Yankee Cowboy Podcast. It's been a minute. It's been a hot, fun minute. And I hope everyone's having a great summer, great 4th of July. I'm joined by the co-host of co-hosts, Chris, joining me again. I think we both can say I hope everyone had a great 4th of July holiday and celebrated in true American fashion of drinking any other beer other than Bud Light and not spending your money at Target or any other woke companies this 4th of July and this summer. But today's topic, I'll be remiss to talk about this, was the most recent, I would say, what do you want to call it, Chris? A spandemonium. I think I saw murder on live television of one person's campaign. We're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the cool, awesome Tucker Carlson. I don't even, what do you want to call it, Chris? A bird? I mean,
yeah. I think in general, the event, obviously, a huge props to the Blaze and Glenn Beck for even putting on a forum like that, having all the major candidates participate. But yeah, for sure we can discuss.
We'll get into it by candidate, that's for sure, because I know I'm jokingly makingly sound like there was a horrific event, but there was. On this, in a horrific event, I mean sarcastically, because in all seriousness, Tucker Carlson did a hell of a job on this forum, and I did watch all 9 hours of the Blaze coverage, and they did a pretty nice job. And it actually took me a while to kind of watch everything back after it happened, and I was glad I did. I watched a lot of the back and forth. Steve Deace just needs to look like Ken Bone somewhere else. But with all jokes aside, man, for all intents and purposes, to the listeners out there, this forum was hosted by Tucker Carlson amongst all the candidates besides Donald Trump, who decided not to attend this event due to, I'll be remiss to say, Chris, that the former president did not enjoy the event organizer taking a endorsement of Ron DeSantis and Kim Reynolds not coming out in endorsing of him. So, and listen, there's also a story that's been posted about that as well. And there's also the fact that the Trump said, listen, I have a previous engagement that was scheduled 6 months ago. So people pry more into it than what I think, but at the same time, for the former president not to be here, I think he missed out on an opportunity here. But I think, and I think he's always one of those guys that can take a real situation and turn it into a positive one. And I think he missed out here. I'm not saying that this won't happen. He did have at the time of this recording, he did have a town hall with Hannity, which, whatever you want to think about, to me, it's a softball. And I nothing personal with Sean Hannity, but it's a softball style. And I'd rather have him against a confrontational style of Tucker Carlson, even though, because as people have written, Chris, and I think we could talk about this, that there has been things written that Tucker Carlson does not enjoy Donald Trump. But I'd be remiss after watching this, Chris, that I believe Tucker Carlson did all of Donald Trump's work for him today. So
I agree. No, I completely agree. I think it wasn't when I read that he wouldn't be attending. I thought it was a miss, to be honest with you. Again, we can pick, pick and prod and say like, oh, how would the interview have gone? Would Trump have filibustered it a little bit? How tough the question has been Tucker? I mean, we won't know that obviously, but I do agree. I wish he would have been there.
I think, Chris, we can get into it here. And by the way, Tucker Carlson was his usual jovial self. That's for damn sure on this situation. Made fun of himself, and more so like a Conan O'Brien style type monologue at the very beginning. But Tim Scott went first, and nothing against Tim Scott, but I believe there were some things that were missed. He did miss out on the Ukraine situation on that question, which, by the way, the reason why it's a big important issue is that the Joe Biden administration called up and mobilized 3,000 reserve units. And that was a big talking point for that particular day on Friday. But Tim Scott, every time he would try to answer a question, Chris, I was kind of taken aback by him getting up out of the chair. Instead of, it was supposed to be more like a one-on-one type of deal, and instead he was kind of doing like a monologue to the crowd, and I think it missed the beat a little bit. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be Tim. I'll be honest with you. When it came to, I glossed a little bit over Tim Scott, Nikki Haley. Those are the ones I don't know. I wasn't super interested in because I just see them. I just see them as kind of your run of the mill Republicans. Like they're not. They just don't. They don't interest me, to be honest with you. I'll admit I didn't spend hardly any time watching their forum.
I'll be remiss. I'll be kind of candidly honest here. The reason why I want to see Tim Scott and see what he can do is, can he pivot away from a stump speech? Because that's, I hate to say this, but every interview and every single situation I've talked to him, it's so stumpish. It's so prepared in a sense where I understand his story. Like most of us political nerds have listened to his story many times over and have no problem with the man. Personally, I have no issue with him as a person, as a man, as a senator. I do have a problem with the fact that he cannot think on his feet in an interview, and he almost didn't have an answer a couple times with Tucker, and then I think he closed out that situation, that the interview with Tucker, very well. But I think you're right in a sense where he does sound like run-of-the-mill Republican. And I was looking for something to see if, and the reason why I watched it was I was looking to see if he's going to say something that's unique, that I haven't heard before. And I didn't hear any of that. And then I just watched a man get almost murdered on YouTube by watching the good old Asa Hutchinson. Just Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. Holy. And by the way, Tucker's a savage, by the way. I mean, I give Tucker Carlson a lot of juice here, but he really did stick it right to him. He didn't waste any time either. I mean, seriously, he was like, he didn't softball him up and warm him up. Like he fucking just Clubber langed his ass. Fucking point.
And he, like he's been calling out, like, let's use Asa Hutchinson as an example. He's been calling him out for a year plus about the whole about vetoing that bill.
Yeah,
so a lot of these conversations, this was all stuff that he had already called these. Even when he was still on Fox News channel, he was already calling these guys out for their guys and girls out for their some of their stances previously. Now he just had the ability to do it in a forum where he's not, controlled.
Well, he tried to get Asa to answer the damn question. I mean, he was trying. He literally gave him like what was it, like 6 opportunities to answer the question.
And I'll admit he was another one. Sorry, Tim, I make that. He was another one. He was another one I just didn't. I saw some clips of it, and that did it for me.
Tucker opened up with a damn. See, most of these guys, when you watch political commentary and interviews and stuff, and they kind of give you a softball to warm you up, and then they hit you with some hard shit. Nah,
Yep.
Tucker Carlson just clubber langed him right in the mouth and of course I knew it was coming, but the reason why I thought maybe he was going to go, this is why I like Tucker, is you really don't know what you're going to ever get. You really don't. And it's
Yeah.
awesome. It really is, because I thought he was going to go post up on this Ukraine issue all day, which he was going to. He did it on the other interviews as well, but just not as, he didn't, open up with it. But the Ukraine issue, I thought, okay, maybe he's gonna, no, he just went after the issue that he knows he needs to get an answer out of. And Asa, holy shit, man, why are you running for president? I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, all that because a lot of it's because of the donors. I mean, we've got quite a bit of ground now.
Yeah, but we'll talk about
of these,
the Sanctimonious here later.
A lot of these guys who are 1 or 2% losers.
Well, I mean, Ron DeSantis is a 10%er, but he ain't going to be 10%er for long. I tell you,
yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit later here, because I'm trying to go, by the way, for everyone listening at home, I'm trying to go in order in which they appeared, so that everyone can watch the train wreck as they watch the Blaze TV coverage on YouTube, can understand the commentary if they want to, and the semantics that I'm about to go through here, because it is by far the most, and I'm pretty sure I understand the order here. It went Mike Pence, right? It went Mike Pence next, right? I understand. Yeah, it went Mike Pence next.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the full order to go.
Yeah. So it went Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis. That's the order it went. But yeah, it went Mike Pence after the potential murder of someone's political campaign. It went Mike Pence, which, by the way, he also didn't do very favorably in the eyes of many conservatives, because he can't really answer the day-old question about religious liberty, and he came across as caring more about the Ukrainians than the American people. And
yeah, well, he said it. Not my concern.
He said it. He blatantly. Man, if I can put you out a minute and a second, and when that happened, that interview, I was like, my jaw dropped. I said, I don't think I've ever heard a politician just blatantly fucking say that kind of shit before an interview. And then I go to myself, Donald Trump used to say some shit that I believe my jaw dropped a couple times, but not like that. So Pence is going to remain in the gutter, as he rightfully should belong in the history of all conservatism. Which someone really brought up a very key point in that Blaze coverage about Pence. He had an issue with the religious right and the independence of, the right to, and he had an issue in Indiana, and it caught him down the road in his political career there. But it was something to bring back to life here, is that Mike Pence tried to justify January 6th, or not justify it, but like justify his actions on that day of certifying the election. And many, many, many conservatives, Chris, just can't look him in the face. It's hard.
Yeah, including myself.
And I understand his interpretation. I understand what he was trying to say and what his interpretation of his constitutional duty is. But there's many others that have a different viewpoint of it, that are educated in the constitutional law, that said you do have the right to kick it back to the states and ask them to take a look at these irregularities. And I think it was a tough boat to row for him, but I just couldn't. The man ain't gonna get more than 5%. Let's be honest. And I wish him and the best of luck for the future endeavors. But as good old Mr. John Laurinaitis would say in the WWE, wish you the best of all luck and endeavors. But yeah, he will not poll above 5% in Iowa or anywhere else in the country. And I listen, I wish him, like I said, I wish him best of luck, but his political career is over. He needs to understand that. Tough for him to understand, I guess. But Nikki Haley is another one, and not to segue into this, but her political career didn't even start on the presidential scene. Because I'll tell you this right now, she sounds so much out of touch on the everyday issues of conservatives. On the Chris, I don't understand why she's running for office either.
I mean, maybe the only thing I can think of, she's trying to position herself in a cabinet position. She's kind of these, talks about them. These politicians that know how to position themselves, and especially when we're talking to Trump, they know how to, like he did that scathing monologue about Mike Pompeo, where they know that they thwart the agenda, but they know in a way how to flatter President Trump. And I think that someone like her is another example of somebody who thwarts the agenda, the American First agenda, but also knows
Well,
how to.
I kind of understand your point, man. I do, but I don't see how she falls inside the administration if Trump wins again. I think she, number one, gave up on the administration not even halfway through when she was given, she was the head of the UN on the US side, and she gave up on the administration halfway through. I really would like to see what she could have done maybe during the COVID crisis, and the possibility of those things. And unfortunately, she took her ball and went home. She said family, which is I'm not saying it's a wrong cause to fight. It's the fact that she probably went home because she didn't like the positions she got put in. Let's be honest. And she now wants to get what type of position does she want? Does she want Secretary of State? I mean, what she might be vying for, Chris? I mean, what Secretary of Interior? I mean, what exactly is her best position? I mean, guess what? She's affirmative action is no longer a part of the puzzle, so I can't just do
Exactly.
a crazy hire. So, I mean, like, what exactly does the job should I give her? I mean, she's not. She's a. I hate to say it. She's a rhino. She's a rhino, and
Honestly,
that's the worst part
Tim,
about it.
we can just gloss over these folks. Let's get to the
Well, listen, I'm trying to give the viewers a little bit of a tease here before we get to the good stuff.
As Mark Levin says, these are the backbenchers. Let's move on to the ones who actually.
Listen, I got some time to fill here. Okay, they were fillers. Okay, give me a break here. You're gonna bust my stones. Dang. Okay. Listen, the next one, guys, everyone, I think it needs to be, and I'll do a little bit of monologue about this next individual. It is Vivek Ramaswamy. And Vivek Ramaswamy. I have learned how to pronounce his name correctly thanks to many people. I was emphatically impressed by this young man. And the reason being, I call him a young man. Chris, he's our age.
Yeah.
He's a little bit older than us by like maybe less than 5 years. And he is the reason why I think it struck home. And this is where I'm excited about his campaign now. In a sense, is the man talked to a lot of values that hit home for us millennials that a lot of politicians have not hit or even come close to glossing over. And I'm talking about, if you guys go back and listen to it, he talks about people walking through a forest and having no purpose. That is the millennial generation right now.
Yeah.
And it's a very strong, pervasive argument, but it's true. There's a lot of things a lot of millennials are going through right now that, there's things that unfortunately we need to figure out here soon. We all have purpose. We all have a sense of duty and purpose. We're trying to find it. That's the problem. And I think Vivek did a hell of a job communicating that. He was also a great communicator on some of the things. We all know him to be obviously a supporter of the American First agenda, but he was also putting those policies in a very he sounded, dude. I'll give this comparison. Someone told me this morning. Vivek sounded like a more polished and well-mannered Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And I looked at the guy when he said it to me. I said, I don't disagree with you, but we got to see a path for Mr. Vivek and see a Ramaswamy and see where he can kind of guide through this process. I'm not surprised at the fact that he's polling higher than, I think he's in double digits in some states, early states. I'm not surprised by that. His message resonates with people, and I think he, in my personal view, was the winner of this forum.
Absolutely.
And I know I understand. Listen, a lot of listeners in the world that find this podcast might go, "Hey, he's a homer. He's a guy that he likes this guy." Listen, I'm a Trumper. There's no question about where my loyalties stand here. But when you hear a guy communicate effectively, mind you, Chris, like unlike most of these career politicians, you kind of have to sit down and listen to it, and to see where he's going to go with it, and how do you follow his speech is actually a great road. It's a good speech. It's a good listening back and forth with Tucker, which, by the way, many Fox viewers have actually know of him because he's been on Tucker's show numerous times. I think
that's where became familiar with him.
Yeah, I think that's where I became familiar with him when he was on Fox and Friends in the morning, and then he went on Tucker, and I would see him on Tucker. But to me, he's a really good communicator, and I really do wish he continues to perform well going into these primaries. I hope he does well at the debate. I hope he gets invited. I hope he does. I think he can seriously bang the drum pretty good on some of these other guys and do well.
He has a little bit of I thought about it and I was like, he almost reminds me a little bit, and this is obviously someone on the left, but he kind of reminds me or has that same like appeal that like an Andrew Yang has.
I disagree with that, but I understand your point.
He's young. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is he's young. I think that's something.
Yeah, the youth side of it. I think the difference.
Again, I'm saying their values are completely different. Like, I'm not talking like their values, but in terms of like this guy is an outsider. He's like Trump.
Successful biotech guy, by the way.
But he understands. He understands, what ESG and CRT and all these things have done to big business. He understands. He's one of the only ones that had called out the whole January 6th, committee and all and stuff. Like he's the only one who's got some. He's got some. I don't want to compare everything to Trump as the litmus test for every candidate, but he's the only one who has a certain level of an apologeticness that you see out of a Trump compared to all the other milquetoast candidates.
Well, that's where I speaking of milquetoast, we're going to go to the next one here in a second. He's the biggest piece of milquetoast. And I don't care what any conservative says. I am not voting for Ron DeSantis. I'm just not doing it. Just can't. This is not based on watching that performance that he gave at this forum. Mark Levin came out and supported him after this. I said, I just lost like an ounce of dignity for Mark Levin here because listening to him talk, and I said, okay, let's take a fucking row of the boat back here. Ramaswamy, in my opinion, has a very high ceiling here. And I think Ramaswamy has an opportunity, if done productively, can beat DeSantis in some of these early states. And I think Iowa's probably that one. New Hampshire, But by the way, before we go forward here, everybody really doesn't seem to get this part, but Iowa does not, over the last 30 years of doing the caucus, Trump didn't win this state. He did not win Iowa. Cruz won Iowa.
Yeah.
So let's get this out of the fucking the home run here. Trump could be up nationally all he wants, but I think seriously, if you look at him, you cannot include Iowa in the big scheme of things because Iowa is not like any other state. So,
Iowa, in a lot of ways, gets way too much.
well, dude, it does it the most unorthodox way. It does their presidential primary completely different than any other state in the country. Which that's why it gets the notoriety it does.
Exactly, but at some point it becomes a little bit too like, okay, it's Iowa, like.
But a lot of those guys, a lot of these candidates use Iowa as a juice point, and I call it juice, but it's a launching point to continued success. Yeah. Like so, Ron DeSantis, not Ron, Santorum, Rick Santorum, Howard Dean, there's a lot of different scenarios here, and I before I open up with this, going into the sanctimonious here. I'm taken aback by the fact that on my Twitter feed, Chris, and I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot more DeSantis people or Team DeSantis people on my Twitter feed that were once Trump supporters. And now they are now become Team DeSantis. And they're not just talking about how good Ron DeSantis is. They're bashing the former president. And I said, I guess we're going to have the Janet Jackson situation now, aren't we? What have you done for me lately? And the fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, the former president of the United States is up by 36 points. 36, count them. 36, up nationally by 31 as of this time. By the way, he's about to be indicted again within probably days of this recording. That man's going to get another 10-point bump if you indict him again. Listen, by the time he gets to the point of the general election, he is going to have 91% of the party supporting him. Yeah. Because he's probably going to be indicted in Georgia too. So make that an extra 10 points. Yeah. So my point exactly to every single person is, how do you beat David versus Goliath? How do you beat David? How do you beat the Goliath? How do you beat the man? You don't, ladies and gentlemen. You have to run a parallel campaign that does not touch or even talk about Donald Trump, because he reminds you sometimes, Donald Trump does anyway, reminds me a lot of a person that it's not a narcissist. It's close to it, but very, very close. It's a person, they want all the attention all the time. And if you don't give them the attention, it's like having a child. You don't give them they go cry. And then when you don't give them any attention while they're crying, they just stop crying by themselves. It's a very, very it's a very good thing to happen here. But what I'm getting at is DeSantis outraised, I think, Chris, you saw the facts too here. The DeSantis campaign raised $22 million in the first 6 weeks of the campaign. $22 million. Good haul, right? You would think. Donald Trump raised $17.5 million. And in the last few days, the Ron DeSantis campaign has laid off 15 staffers. What the difference between Donald Trump and the DeSantis campaign is, the honeymoon season's over with Ron DeSantis. All that big whale money is what was dropped in that first 6 weeks. Donald Trump still has donors on the average. I think what Chris, do you remember what the number was on the average donation amount was? Or even it was I think it's still significant. Small donors, it's all small donors, yeah, and it's still significantly small donors. And he's still doing, I think it's $25 or $25. I think it's less than five. I think it's less than $500 is what they were saying.
Yeah.
And the average donation, which, by the way, that's still, if you're donating $500 to a presidential campaign, kudos to you. I would like to eat sometimes, so I don't do that. So, Chris, let's get into this with Ron DeSantis. I was taken aback by the fact that his delivery, he sounded like he was either geared up on some adrenaline, or he sounded like he was on Adderall, or he had some kind of complex because he kept spinning the damn microphone. He got distracted. I got distracted as a viewer watching him with a fucking microphone. It was terrible.
I didn't watch all of DeSantis's forum with Tucker. I would say I watched about 75% of it. I don't know. With DeSantis, it's just he struggles with being, and when he says, and if you think about it, Trump is right when he calls Ron sanctimonious, because he definitely struggles from the sense of being.
He has a connection problem, Chris. That's just what it is.
He's not very. He lacks charisma. That's
that's what I was getting at, man. He just lacks he's not the charismatic enigma, man.
Yeah, he lacks like where I think. I mean, listen. I think Ron. Obviously, he's young. He's a good-looking guy. Beautiful family. Like he's got all the outside appeal that you definitely want to see if you're looking at, hey, we want a president of the United States who's not could draw Social Security. If you're looking at it from that standpoint, but where I think he struggles is he's almost very robotic like, which yes, in a way, when especially it's just to me he struggles with charisma. I think charisma is a major issue. I think if you look at it from the perspective of, and I'll admit, I've taken a little bit of a step back sometimes from a political standpoint. But when you look at things I've read too, and you see it a lot as well, is you almost get, you see a lot of Casey DeSantis out there. So you're like, okay, why are we seeing so much of her and not seeing as much of him? It kind of gives you vibes of, and again, I'm not comparing the two because it's not, but you get the vibes of, you saw a lot of Hillary, you see a lot of, in quotation marks, Dr. Jill. Like I'm not comparing them to Casey DeSantis, but I feel like when you don't see the man and you see more of the other cast of characters, it's like, okay, who's kind of running the ship here? Like you knew when President Donald Trump was there, you knew who ran the show. The ultimate alpha male, President Donald Trump. If that makes sense.
It does, but here's my thing with Trump. And I made this joke to like a DeSantis supporter. I said that's like Melania going out there at a rally back in the day. It was chanting, and it would start a chant of "Build that wall," and I mean that jokingly. The former first lady, I hope she's doing well, as we all do. But at the same time, Casey, and I mean this in a sense where I believe it's now become pandering. And I don't disrespect a family, but don't pander. Don't pander to me. Don't pander to me when it comes to your family life and what you've gone through as a family. Don't pander to people because at the same time, their struggles are different than yours. And the reason why is the fact that what Casey DeSantis went through with her cancer treatment is completely different than the millions of people that get cancer every year. It's different scenario.
Absolutely.
And I understand that she's the first lady of Florida. She obviously has an opportunity to state-of-the-art care. But I think I'm not going to go down that road more than that, but say to people, these political campaigns, especially Ron DeSantis' one, needs to stop pandering to people and just let the man be the man. And that's all you have to do. Let the man be the man and speak what he thinks. He's not a stupid person. He's an intelligent guy. He can speak his thoughts in effective ways. But I'm really sick and tired. I'm really sick and tired of, Chris. I don't know about you yet, but I am. I'm sick and tired of hearing the same woke stump speech every damn time he gets on the fucking podium. Give me something. Just give me a policy, for fuck's sakes, that's going to change the nation as a whole. Just give me something. Just give me something. That's all I ask. I can't get that from any fucking politician other than the guy that's getting fucking indicted every damn other week.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck. what I mean, I know I'm going into a cuss words here, but like, damn it. Like, Ron, you are the youngest potential Republican nominee in the last 30 years. Can you please act like you have a political future longer than 5 minutes? Like it's just becoming so apparent, dude. Like great guy, great executive, but he can't get out of his own way. He just can't. And it's sad. And then here's the problem that a lot of people don't realize. Chris DeSantis is going to run out of money. Those big whales are going to keep on giving him money. That's fine. But that man is blowing through money faster than a cocaine habit right now. And I know, no pun intended to Hunter Biden. If anyone knows whose cocaine that was in the White House, please call 1-800 Secret Service. Let them know because they can't do their job either. Yeah, I said it. Come find me, fuckers. Do your job. You can't tell me they don't know who the fuck it was. Excuse my language, but that's another frustrating thing, Chris. We can go to another conversation about that later. But it blows me away how Ron DeSantis is basically has the entire party by the palm of his hand, and he will screw this up royally. And you get Donald Trump, who's seriously, by the way, the only politician in the last 50 years to walk into major sporting events with minimum security and have a world-renowned audience, and fighters included, reach out to him and say, we need you back. So, yeah. Is it Donald Trump? Yeah, he's gonna win this thing. And I can't wait for him to say, I want to go up there and debate and just kick your ass. That's what he's going to do. I have no doubt in my mind he's going to debate, dude. And that's another conversation we're going to finish out here with. Do you think Donald Trump shows up for the debate now? Annie?
Sorry about that. No,
food is important, dude. Food is important.
I think he does. To me, if I thought him not going to this forum was a mistake. If he doesn't do the debates, I think that's another mistake. He's got to be willing to get on stage. That's where he, and yet it's different from 2016 because obviously, he was the outsider. No one took it seriously. And then when you're on stage and you're you're going to be the target for all of the arrows, it's probably different. But to me, that's where Donald Trump can make his biggest inroads. There is going to continue to make his biggest inroads, I should say, is on that debate stage.
And that's where I think it's safe to say, man, that if he does get indicted 2 more times, I think he'll have like an 80% approval rating in the party. I really do. And by the way, I'm laughing, and the reason why, I don't mean to laugh, but I have to. If they do indict him for January 6th, I'm going to be flabbergasted that they're actually going to try and think that's going to hold.
They got nothing to lose. They got
nothing. They're throwing literally. I mean, Chris, they're throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at this man, and he keeps on coming. And that's the reason why a lot of people like Trump, guys. I think a lot of people don't seem to understand that there's a bravado, obviously, with him, and there is. He is who he is. The Teflon Don stigma exists for a reason. The man will continually get up, keep on moving, and the man doesn't stop. He just doesn't. I don't see how, Chris. I don't see. He's also going to be fighting for his life here too, in a little bit. Once these court cases start, he's really fighting for the rest of his life. Because if he gets convicted on 80 counts and has to serve jail time, that's a death sentence. I know it's not. I know federal prison. I know federal prison's a joke, haha. But really, I mean, a person not having their freedom in these later years in life, it's pretty bad. So,
and I've seen conversations about it on people that like, listen, if they can't get him on any other charge, what's the last option of getting him?
There isn't one.
You could probably think of it. And that's honestly, I thought about it more, and I've heard people say it, and that could be it. Is when getting rid of him, it's getting rid of him. And I'm and Dan Bongino said, and other people, his safety has got to be. And I've read or I've seen stuff that he, regardless of whatever happens, if he's at peace, I think for him, if tomorrow was his last day, I think he's at peace with it. I think, and again, I've never, yeah.
I never met. I mean, I never, I don't think. I agree with you on that situation, but at the same time, it's not a very. How do I put it? I think that's the reason why he fights so hard, dude. I have to say it. Like, listen, whatever you think about the man personally, it's your own business, dude. And I understand people don't like him for some other reasons. But the man is who he is, and he's not gonna, especially as they say, you don't change your habits later in life. He's gonna be this way, and I don't know his personal life. I don't know if he's happily married, separated. I don't care. I think when you watch him navigate his personal life the way he does, it's crazy to me because you watch a man that literally. He hasn't changed in his convictions very much. I don't think, Chris. I think he's still an avid sports fan, including the UFC, which he obviously one of his best friends, Dana White. They don't talk about that. He can go to pretty much any sporting event in this country, and regardless of what people will cheer or boo him, he can sit there and watch. And enjoy what he's watching, and be living, and then on top of that, play a nice golf round the next day. Which, by the way, the game of golf is a challenging thing of itself. So, which, by the way, Chris, I'm not sure if you saw that video. They showed a video of him duffing a fucking chip. Which I go, really? I think anyone who's played golf has done that at least 36 times themselves. So don't sit there and say that it's the end of the world type thing. But Chris, I'm going to end it here, man, and say, with all due respect to Ron DeSantis, just don't even try anymore. Just go home. Just go home. That's what I'm going to say, dude. Asa Hutchinson, please, can anyone do a check on Asa Hutchinson? Make sure he's okay after that whole Tucker Carlson thing. Nikki Haley, just stay home with your family because you're going to quit anyway on the administration 2 years in, like you did the last time. Vivek Ramaswamy, that man's going to be a great vice president, I'll tell you. What do you think, Chris?
I can't agree more. I really can't. I think for sure if he's not on the first one on the list, I can't imagine. I can't imagine he's the first one on the list for sure.
Well, you gotta always kind of navigate that. But Chris, I appreciate you joining me as always, man. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Great weekend. We're heading into August, better known as I have a thermostat or an air conditioning bill size of half a mortgage payment and month. And hopefully everyone cools down here after August. But yeah, we're going to be doing another episode here in a couple of weeks here. It's the summertime, so everyone please bear with us. We're not trying to take it personally and take some time off. But we all got lives and families and stuff. And I just came off of like a 12-day work week. So 12 days straight working. So sorry for the month off, but I hope you understood. If you've been there before, you know what I'm talking about. But Chris, I appreciate you joining me. Next week's topic might be a little bit more sports orientated. Who knows? We might throw a random topic out there like who sucks worse, the Yankees or the Red Sox? Who knows? Because that's a topic and a conversation in itself. Because right now the Yankees are in the cellar again. In the cellar. Just want to remind you of the basement down there, down below your house. That's where the Yankees are right now. Just want to all you Yankee fans out there, just want to rub that in just a little bit more.
We get it.
All right. So that being said, I'm signing off. Hope you have a good rest of your week, Chris.
See
you.
Thank you for listening to the Yankee Cowboy Podcast. Feel free to follow us on social media via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.